found a human, and the alien princess refused to let go. Sci-Fi HFY story. The grand spire of the Silverest Dominion shimmered like a frozen star, its walls of translucent crystal refracting violet light from 1,000 glowing orbs. Tapestries of conquest, woven with threads of molten gold, draped obsidian pillars, each telling tales of a dynasty that had crushed worlds for millennia. The domed ceiling, a marvel of ancient tech, mirrored the nebula where the first empress had claimed her throne. Princess Verana stood at the heart of this splendor, her robes of liquid amethyst cascading around her, embroidered with sigils of her bloodline. Her violet eyes, a mark of royal purity, gleamed under braided hair adorned with starstones that pulsed faintly. Today, her 150th year, she would claim a tribute from conquered worlds, a ritual to honor the Dominion. But the weight of expectation felt like chains, binding her to a destiny she had never chosen. Before Verana knelt 15 prisoners, their bodies scarred from battle as lost to the Dominion's might. Selected for strength, intellect, or rare traits, they were offerings to bolster the Empire's glory. The court, seated in tiered galleries, watched with veiled ambition, their faces masks of calculated neutrality. Empress Lysara, perched on a throne of living crystal 20 feet above, radiated authority, her silence a weapon sharper than any blade. The High Oracle, her scales glinting like molten silver, raised clawed hands. "The cosmos decrees renewal," she intoned. "Let the claiming begin." Verana stepped forward, her heart heavy with the politics of her choice. Each prisoner promised alliances or power, but one defied the rest, a human, shackled by force fields, his head unbowed. His emerald eyes burned with a fire no torture could extinguish, and Verana felt the universe shift beneath her. The human should not have been there. Humans were deemed weak, fleeting, unfit for the Dominion's noble blood. Yet this one, bronze-skinned and scarred, bore marks of defiance, burns on his wrists, a gash across his chest. Unlike the others, broken by captivity, he met Verana's gaze with unflinching resolve. She paused, drawn to a strength her tutors had claimed humans lacked. The court's whispers grew, sensing her hesitation. Her mother's eyes, cold as void, narrowed imperceptibly. Verana's training urged her toward safer choices, a warlord from the Creon expanse perhaps, or a sage from the Veltari moons. But the human's gaze held something her world of crystal and conquest could not: freedom. The hall seemed to shrink, its opulence suffocating. For the first time, Verana felt the cage of her birthright, and a reckless spark ignited within her soul. Ignoring the court's expectant hush, Verana raised the ritual scepter, its crystal tip glowing with ancient power. Her voice, trained to command, echoed through the spire. "Him," she declared, pointing at the human. "I claim him." The silence that followed was a void, swallowing breath and reason. Gasps erupted, nobles clutching jeweled collars in disbelief. A crystal chalice shattered, its fragments glinting like fallen stars. The oracle recoiled, scales dimming. "The bloodline! It cannot!" she stammered. Empress Lysara rose, her movements deliberate, her face a mask of icy fury. "Explain, daughter," she commanded, her voice a shard of night. Verana's heart pounded, but the human's eyes, steady, unyielding, anchored her. "He is my choice," she said, dropping to one knee, her scepter clattering on the crystal floor. "Mother, I will not let him go." The court froze and destiny cracked. The Empress's gaze darkened, her claws gouging the throne's arms. "You defy the blood," she said, each word a blade. "Reconsider by the second dawn, or consequences will bind us both." She swept from the spire, her guards trailing like shadows. Verana rose, trembling, as the court's stares burned into her. "Release him," she ordered the guards, who hesitated until her voice cracked with authority. "Now!" The force fields flickered out, and the human stood, taller than she'd imagined, his frame lean but unbowed. Scars crisscrossed his skin, a map of survival. "Your name?" she asked, softer now. He studied her, wary but unafraid. "Joran," he said, his voice rough yet resonant. "You've made a mistake, princess." "Perhaps," she replied, a faint smile breaking through. "But it's mine to make." The spire's light dimmed, and danger loomed. Joran was escorted to Verana's private chamber, a sanctuary of opulence atop the spire's western tower. Crystal walls revealed the Dominion's 3 suns, their light weaving rainbows across silk drapes. Furniture of rare starwood gleamed, and artifacts of forgotten wars lined shelves. Joran scanned the room, noting exits and objects with a fighter's instinct, his expression unyielding. Verana circled him, searching for the spark that had drawn her to him. "Speak freely," she urged. "We're alone." He remained silent, eyes fixed on the suns. "Are you hurt? Hungry?" she pressed. No response. When she reached for his arm, he stepped back, as if her touch were poison. The rejection stung, revealing a truth. His spirit, unlike his body, was unbound. "I saved you," she said, frustration rising. Joran's laugh was bitter. "Saved, or sentenced us both?" Her certainty wavered, but her resolve held firm. That night, as the sun set, Verana's mentor, Scholar Clythe, slipped into her chamber. His feathers, once vibrant, were dulled by fear. "Princess, you've shattered tradition," he whispered. "The court speaks of treason. Poisons are prepared, blades sharpened." Verana's heart chilled. "They say Joran bewitched me," she said. Clythe's eyes darted to Joran, motionless on a pallet by the door. "He's a rebel, Verana. His kin led the Arcturus revolt, marked for annihilation. He survived only for this ritual." The weight of Joran's past sank into her. "What should I do?" she asked. "Return him. Choose another," Clythe urged. Verana glanced at Joran's scars, proof of his defiance. "No," she said, voice steady. "He's mine." Clythe sighed, defeated. "Then triple your guards. Trust no one." As he left, Joran's eyes opened, watching. "You heard," Verana said. "Every word," he confirmed, unyielding. "Why choose me?" Joran asked, his voice cutting through the silence. Verana turned to the crystal window, the sun's light fading. "Your eyes held truth," she said. "In a world of lies, you were real." Joran's gaze softened, but only slightly. "You've endangered us both," he said. "I know," she admitted, "but it was my first choice, my only one." A flicker of understanding passed between them, fragile but real. Hours later, a faint sound woke Verana. A whisper of cloth, a glint of steel. An assassin, cloaked in shadow, lunged from the balcony, blade aimed at her heart. She dodged, silk sheets tangling, and cried out. Joran, alert despite his chains, surged forward, using his shackles to block the blade. Sparks flew, and the chamber became a battlefield, their survival hanging by a thread. The assassin bore the Dominion's crest, a betrayal that cut deeper than steel. Joran fought with raw fury, his chains a weapon, his movements fluid despite captivity's toll. 2 more shadows emerged, wielding pulse blades to capture, not kill. Verana grabbed her ritual scepter, its crystal tip sharp enough to pierce armor. Trained in defense, she struck with precision, her amethyst robes torn in the chaos. Together, they moved as one. Joran's adaptability complementing Verana's skill. The assassins, expecting a soft princess and a broken prisoner, faltered. When the last fell, Verana and Joran locked eyes, blood dripping, breaths ragged. "We can't stay," Joran said, wiping a cut on his cheek. Verana nodded, staring at the crest on the fallen. "My own guards," she whispered, heart breaking. The palace, once her home, was now a tomb. Veyrana shed her torn robes, donning flexible armor from a hidden cache. Midnight Violet, reinforced with kinetic plates. Joran watched, turning to give her privacy she didn't request. From the assassins, he took a pulse blade, its hum steady in his scarred hands. "You planned for this," he observed. "I feared it," she replied, unlocking his chains with a silver key. They fell, revealing raw skin. Joran flexed his wrists, surprise flickering. "You trust me? I trust you want to live," she said. A faint smile touched his lips. "Not wrong." She tossed him dark leathers, better than his rags. His scars, burns, lashes, a neural whip's mark, told a story of endurance. "How long?" she asked. 4 years, he said, pulling on the shirt. "Long enough to learn your lies." An alarm blared and time ran out. The palace pulsed with chaos. Guards shouting, nobles fleeing, servants cowering. Veyrana led Joran through servant corridors, her knowledge of hidden paths their only advantage. Joran's instincts, honed by years of survival, sensed patrols before they appeared. Twice, they ducked into alcoves, breaths held as boots passed. At a guarded checkpoint, Veyrana loosened her armor, smearing blood on her face. "Follow," she whispered. Staggering forward, she cried, "Assassins! My chambers!" The guards, recognizing her, snapped to attention. "Highness, are you hurt?" "My mother's in danger," she gasped, gesturing to Joran, head bowed. "Only my guard." The guards parted, directing her to a false path. Once clear, Veyrana's mask fell, her eyes fierce. "Clever," Joran murmured, respect in his tone. "I've learned," she said grimly. The tunnels awaited, but betrayal followed close behind. In a dusty storage vault, Veyrana pushed aside a tapestry of Dominion triumphs, revealing a hidden door. Her palm activated ancient mechanisms, and the tunnel opened, its walls studded with faint, violet crystals. "These led beyond the walls," she said, descending. "But traps guard the way. Gas vents, collapsing floors." Joran's eyes narrowed. "Your family loves drama." "You've no idea," she replied, stepping carefully. The air grew heavy, scented with stone and secrets. Joran followed, mirroring her steps. "How do you know this?" he asked, navigating a pressure plate. "As a child, I sought escape," she said. "While others studied power, I mapped freedom." A distant clang echoed, guards in pursuit. "Someone betrayed us," Joran said. "Someone close," Veyrana agreed, her heart sinking. The tunnels, a maze of death, tested their trust, but they pressed on, bound by necessity. The tunnels twisted, narrowing into claustrophobic passages. Crystals dimmed, casting shadows that danced like specters. Veyrana's steps faltered at a junction, where 3 paths diverged. "This way," she whispered, choosing the left. Footsteps grew louder. Guards, armed and relentless. At a choke point, 2 sentries blocked their path, blades gleaming. Joran gripped a rusted rod from a tunnel relic, fighting beside Veyrana's scepter. The confined space limited the guards, and their synergy, her precision, his improvisation, felled them. "How did you wake?" Veyrana asked, panting. "I don't sleep," Joran said. "Not since capture." "What were you?" she pressed. His eyes flickered. A leader. The truth hung heavy, but pursuit closed in. 3 more guards appeared, pulse rifles humming. Veyrana's heart raced. Freedom was close, but the cost was rising, and Joran's past loomed larger. Joran fought like a storm, turning the tunnel's confines into an advantage. His rod struck with uncanny precision, disarming a guard trained in Dominion tactics he shouldn't know. "You led rebels," Veyrana realized, dodging a pulse blast. "Not just any," Joran grunted, knocking out another. "The Orion Pact." The name chilled her. The pact, crushed a decade ago, was a Dominion myth of defiance. They sprinted toward the exit, a faint dawn glowing ahead. But at the tunnel's mouth, the Empress's elite awaited, 5 warriors in crystalline armor, led by Captain Silth, Veyrana's childhood trainer. His violet eyes, once warm, were cold as stone. "Princess," he intoned, "return, or die. The human is forfeit." Veyrana stepped forward, scepter raised. "He's mine," she said. "I won't let go." Silth's blade rose, and the fight for freedom began. Silth's warriors attacked, their armor deflecting Veyrana's strikes. Joran, bleeding from a new gash, fought with desperate ingenuity, using a fallen guard's shield. Veyrana's training held, but Silth's skill outmatched her. He lunged, blade aimed at her chest. Joran threw himself between them, the sword slicing his shoulder. He gasped, but drove his rod into Silth's armor joint, staggering him. "Go!" Joran urged, blood soaking his leathers. Veyrana tore fabric from her armor, binding his wound. "Not without you," she said fiercely. Together they fought, their movements a desperate harmony. The guards, stunned by their resolve, faltered. Veyrana's scepter cracked a helmet. Joran's shield downed another. Silth fell, clutching his wound, eyes wide with betrayal. They stumbled into the wasteland, the canyon's red sands swallowing their tracks, but the Dominion's wrath followed. The wasteland was a crucible of crimson dunes and jagged spires, scorched by triple suns. Veyrana and Joran moved by day, conserving stolen water, Joran's wound slowing their pace. By night, they shivered under thin cloaks, the sun's heat replaced by biting cold. On the 4th night, sheltered in a canyon's shadow, Joran's fever spiked. Veyrana cleaned his wound with the last of her herbs, noticing a tattoo, interlocking spirals, on his chest. "Orion Pact," he rasped. "I led their western front." Her breath caught. The Pact's defeat was her childhood's victory song. "How many survived?" she asked. "Few," he said, eyes distant. "My brother among them, I hope." Guilt choked her. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Joran's gaze softened. "You didn't wield the blade." But her privilege, she knew, was forged in their blood. After 10 days, they found a hidden sanctuary, a cluster of stone domes in a canyon, vines reclaiming cracked walls. A spiral carving marked a well, still flowing. "A packed refuge," Joran said, awe in his voice. "I thought them all lost." The domes offered shelter, the cliff's defense. "We stay," Veyrana said, "until you heal." Joran nodded, and they began rebuilding. Veyrana, unused to labor, learned to mend walls and hunt. Joran taught her survival, his knowledge vast despite his scars. Their wary alliance grew into trust. By firelight, Joran shared his past, leading farmers against Dominion raids, losing his family. Veyrana confessed her gilded cage, her awakening to the Empire's cruelty. "You showed me truth," she said. Joran's hand brushed hers. "And you saw me." The sanctuary became home, but danger loomed on the horizon. On the 15th day, Joran spotted banners, Dominion forces crossing the dunes, led by tracking hounds. "They've found us," he said, voice grim. Veyrana's instinct screamed to flee, but resolve anchored her. "This is ours," she said. "We fight." Joran's smile was fierce. "Let's make it epic." They set traps, pitfalls, rock slides, and armed themselves with scavenged blades. As the army neared, a new sound rose. Footsteps from the cliffs. Figures emerged, humans, Cryons, Veltari, all scarred, all bearing spiral tattoos. "A human woman, Kalia," saluted Joran. "Commander, we survived Orion's fall. We're 1,500 strong." Veyrana stared, hope surging. "You rebuilt," Kalia said, nodding to the domes. "We'll fight with you." The sanctuary, once a ruin, now stood as a beacon, and Veyrana felt her purpose solidify. Empress Lysara, atop a crystalline platform, faced the rebel force. Her eyes, mirrors of Veyrana's, flickered with shock. Veyrana stepped forward, voice carrying over the sands. Mother, I stand with them, not you. Lysera's voice was ice. You betray your blood for this filth. They're people, Verana countered, gesturing to the rebels. Your empire thrives on their pain. The Empress's gaze hardened, but doubt lingered. You are no daughter of mine, she said. Verana ripped her royal crest from her armor, casting it into the sand. Then I'm free, she replied. Leave us, or face us. The rebels stood united, their spirals gleaming. Lysera, sensing their will, turned her army back. The wasteland was theirs. Verana looked to Joran, his wound bandaged, his eyes proud. We won, she whispered. For now, he said, hand finding hers. At dusk, Verana buried her crest in the sand, Joran's hand steadying hers. What now? He asked. She gazed at the rebels, outcasts forging a home. We build, she said, echoing his hope, a place for all. The spiral, once defiance, now meant unity. Joran smiled, the first true warmth she'd seen. Freedom's worth it, he said. Their bond, forged in blood and choice, was stronger than empire. Princess and human defy tyranny. HFY. As the sun set, casting violet light over the sanctuary, Verana felt Joran's fingers intertwine with hers. I refuse to let go, she said softly. And I'm still here, he replied. Together, they faced a future unwritten, built on courage, not conquest, their choices lighting a path for others. Thank you, viewers. Welcome to the world of science fiction. Verana and Joran's defiance forged a new dawn. If this HFY saga stirred your soul, hit that like, share with your sci-fi crew, and subscribe for more. What moved you most? Verana's stand, Joran's sacrifice, or the sanctuary's rise? Comment below, and let's keep the HFY fire burning. See you among the stars.